For decades, the story of human evolution looked exactly like this clean, linear diagram. Homo sapiens migrated out of Africa, occasionally crossed paths with Neanderthals in Europe, and eventually took over the globe. But that simple timeline collapsed inside this massive rock formation in Siberia. In 2008, archaeologists excavating the remote Denisova Cave unearthed a single 50,000-year-old pinky bone belonging to a young girl. When researchers sequenced the DNA from that tiny fragment, the results matched neither human nor Neanderthal. It belonged to an entirely unrecorded offshoot of humanity, a species we now call the Denisovans. This discovery immediately highlighted a glaring contradiction. If you look at this dense museum display of hominid skulls, you see ample physical evidence for Neanderthals, who left behind thousands of skeletons worldwide. The physical footprint of the Denisovans, however, is practically non-existent. To date, the total sum of their physical remains consists of that lone pinky bone, a handful of teeth, half of a jawbone recovered from Tibet, and a massive Chinese cranium known to researchers as Dragon Man. Genetic mapping proves this ghost species successfully ruled a massive territory stretching across the entirety of Asia. We are left with a population robust enough to dominate a continent, yet somehow vanished without leaving their skeletons behind. Because the Earth swallowed their physical fossils, researchers have to reconstruct the Denisovans by examining the DNA of living humans who carry their genetic echo today. That genetic data reveals a species with significant physiological advantages. Take the EPAS1 gene, a sequence that regulates how efficiently blood absorbs oxygen in thin, freezing air. While a typical person struggles to breathe at 10,000 feet, modern Tibetans thrive at 14,000. They inherited this high-altitude survival trait directly from Denisovan ancestors who adapted to extreme mountain peaks. That same ancient DNA, passed down to indigenous populations in Oceania and Asia, carried an incredibly robust immune system. The Denisovan cellular structure provided a biological shield against ancient plagues and slowed the aging process, allowing them to live longer, healthier lives than early Homo sapiens. Their physical superiority extended directly to their cranial capacity. Measurements from the few skull fragments we do possess indicate their brain cavity was nearly 20% larger than that of a modern human. The architecture of their DNA reveals neural pathways specialized for deep memory processing and the identification of complex patterns. When you combine high-altitude endurance, a flawless immune system, and immense intellectual capacity, the resulting biological profile forms an upgraded, highly superior iteration of humanity. These cognitive advantages translated directly into their material culture. The artifacts recovered from their territory prove they were highly skilled creators rather than primitive foragers. Take a look at this schematic of the green chloratolite bracelet excavated from the Siberian cave. Carbon dating places its creation between 50 and 70,000 years ago, making its existence an engineering anomaly for the Stone Age. Material scientists argue the perfectly straight bore at its center requires high-speed rotary drilling, a technology modern humans wouldn't invent for tens of thousands of years. In the same layer of dirt, archaeologists unearthed a 50,000-year-old bone needle, complete with a carved eyelet for thread. While our ancestors were wrapping themselves in crude animal skins, the Denisovans possessed the planning and symmetry required to sew tailored garments. Their architectural footprints suggest even grander capabilities. Deep in the Siberian forest sit the Mount Shoria megaliths. Here, perfectly cut stones featuring precise right angles are stacked atop one another, with individual blocks weighing upwards of 3,000 tons. Similar megalithic sites scattered across Mongolia are deliberately aligned with the sunrise and sunset of the yearly solstices, indicating a deep mathematical understanding of celestial mapping. The convergence of high-speed drilling, tailored textiles, and large-scale stone assembly suggests a society capable of complex coordination and technical specialization. This isn't the work of isolated nomads, it's the signature of a population whose technological baseline was far ahead of their contemporaries. All of this evidence brings us directly back to the central contradiction. If a species wields bigger brains, flawless immunity, and advanced engineering, why are they extinct? the geological record offers a deeply suspicious timeline. The final physical traces of the Denisovans abruptly vanish around 40,000 years ago, which is the exact moment Homo sapiens began their aggressive expansion into Eurasia. One prevailing theory is assimilation. Instead of being completely wiped out, the Denisovans were genetically absorbed through interbreeding. This explains why millions of people across Asia and Oceania still carry up to 5% of their DNA today. A darker possibility is prehistoric genocide. Homo sapiens were highly aggressive and hunted in overwhelming numbers. We may have utilized sheer volume and ruthless warfare to systematically hunt down and erase a cognitively superior rival. A third theory shifts focus to a massive environmental reset. Roughly 12,800 years ago, the planet underwent a violent thermal shift, known as the Younger Dryas, characterized by extreme temperature fluctuations and massive glacial melting. For a species residing primarily in mountain caves and high-altitude valleys, the resulting cataclysmic megafloods would have been catastrophic. A deluge of this magnitude, often echoed in ancient flood myths, is capable of burying an entire landscape under meters of sediment, effectively scouring their history from the record. Denisovan DNA acts as an invisible armor, keeping millions of people alive in harsh environments today. But if a society equipped with immense intellect and advanced engineering can be erased so violently that we only ever find a single pinky bone, we have to wonder how many other advanced empires are still buried beneath our feet.